Let's play Burlington's Guess That Price. Back to school means back to saving. We're bringing you kids' jeans starting at, hold on a minute, just $11.99. Burlington's acing this test. What about character backpacks? We've got them starting at $12.99. Burlington's done it again. How about sneakers for the kids? A-plus brands and right on trend starting at $11.99. Saving is now in session. Burlington, deals, brands, wow! Styles and selections vary by location.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Checking off the boxes on your to-do list is a great feeling. And when it comes to checking off coverage, a State Farm agent can help you choose an option that's right for you. Whether you prefer talking in person, on the phone, or using the award-winning app, it's nice knowing you have help finding coverage that best fits your needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Unfiltered discussions, unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Yes, this is The Last Show. No, I am not David Cooper. My name is Caitlin Green, and I'm filling in for David while he's away on his annual pilgrimage to Burning Man. Tonight on the show, myself and our many trained experts will explain why AI is no substitute for a therapist or a romantic partner. Halfway through the hour, we'll detail why it's a very bad idea to give your dog Ozempic. And finally, a renowned travel writer will help you pick your next travel destination and explain how not to behave when you get there. But first, let's travel across the pond to learn the latest cringeworthy slang additions to the English dictionary. Tony Five, you are here.
Caitlin, you are so much prettier than David Cooper. It's wonderful to see you, my lovely. You actually are a professional broadcaster. You're going to elevate our game. I feel that when we're with you, we lower your game, but you're going to elevate my game. Whilst David is scuffing it in the middle of a desert, pooping in big holes, smelling, poor hygiene, me and you have got air conditioning. We've got roofs. We've got flushing toilets.
I'm a house cat at heart, so I require a climate-controlled area. I need walls. I need indoor plumbing. And when I asked him about Burning Man, he did assure me that he was at least going to be sleeping on a cot and that he was in a somewhat climate-controlled tent, kind of a glamping experience for him. So I'm not that worried about his physical health and well-being. I am always worried about his emotional health and well-being. So at some point, he is going to check in with us live from the desert. So we're going to see how that goes for him.
I mean, when you say live from the desert, it does sound like one of those reality shows like Survivor, right?
Yes, this is my milieu. I am a Bravo historian. I love reality television. I have actually said that there should be a reality TV show about Burning Man, but Burning Man is so counterculture that they probably wouldn't allow for that, which I deeply respect. But I need him to be our boots on the ground Burning Man correspondent and to at least tell me what people are wiping with and what they're doing. And there's no cash there either. It's a bartering system. So what is David bartering with?
No idea. I mean, I'm hoping not his body because he's not going to get more than $7 for that. And then on top of that, like I think they just wipe each other. I think it's a very feral environment. I can only imagine. And he keeps asking me every year, Caitlin, every year, Tony, you've got to come. Tony, and I'm sitting there going, not unless they put a Marriott there. It's never going to happen.
You're like, at the very least, I demand a bonvoy if I'm going to be in attendance. Burning Man aside, you officially, as the UK correspondent for the show, I rely on you to keep us plugged in with everything to do with UK news. And since you guys founded the English language, as we know
Yes.
it, the language that we're using today, every time the dictionaries, whether that's Oxford or Cambridge, the dictionary experts will come out with new lists of words that they're adding. And it's like
Absolutely.
a PR campaign for the dictionary. So this year, they've added new words. And I feel like the slang words they add are getting more and more annoying. Maybe I'm just getting older and crankier.
Well, I'm definitely old and I'm definitely cranky. I feel the dictionary doesn't need any PR. It's kind of like the Bible. It will always be a bestseller. I guess it is. There's always going to be people wanting it. And like every year they put a couple of thousand new words in. Technology moves forward. Pop culture moves forward. But the problem is, Caitlin, they're adding stuff from social media. They've added a word called skibbity. Ugh, it makes me want to cry.
This word is so awful and it's really pervasive amongst little kids. So we're talking kids who are
Okay.
kind of in grade school. If you're listening and have children, you might be driving off the road right now because you hate this word so much. And it's from a YouTube series, I want to say, question mark. It's this sketchy, dark animated series. And
Okay.
there is a song that says skibbity toilet at some point. And
Okay.
skibbity toilet became an insult because it's used as an insult on this show. I hope I'm getting this right.
Is it to insult toilets or to insult people? I mean,
Insult people. You say that people or things or something you don't like is skibbity toilet. And then it got shortened to just skibbity.
because the actual definition is any meaning or none at all, which again goes against the whole purpose of having a dictionary.
What? Okay, so I feel like that's changed even since like it's sort of taken on a life of its own and the word has its own meaning that I'm not even familiar with. I just know that my friends who are teachers have to tell their students in their classroom constantly to stop saying this because it's annoying the heck out of them.
But I'm guessing the children now can go back to their teacher and say, Miss, well, it's in the Cambridge English Dictionary. What are you going to do?
I hate this for us adults. I hate this for teachers. I wish they didn't include it. But if you haven't seen this already, I'm not sure if you grew up with sort of the dark internet culture of like salad fingers and like that kind of stuff.
No, I'm way too old for that. Salad fingers makes me think of someone working in like, like an Italian restaurant and a Caesar salad coming across and him just licking his fingers. Educate me, Caitlin. This is already better than David Cooper. I'm learning stuff.
No, this was way back, sort of when internet culture was just being birthed. And there would be these, for some reason, just weird for weird's sake, animated shorts that would come out. One of them was called Salad Fingers. It was just a creepy animated character that had pieces of lettuce for fingers. And it did creepy things. And
Right.
just because it had this weird vibe to it, it wound up going viral and it became sort of pervasive amongst kids when I was probably, I don't know, in like grade 8 or 9. And
Okay.
this to me reminds me of that. It's like a continuation of that. It's very dark, it's very creepy, and it's unsettling to me that kids watch it. But I guess kids always watch this kind of stuff. And thus now, maybe now that it's made its way into the Cambridge Dictionary, it won't be cool and no one will say it anymore. That's all I can hope for.
Well, I'm hoping AI takes over and the end is nigh because we're going down that slippery slope to annihilation. So I'm happy with that.
Mhm.
Okay, the next word, trad wife.
Yes.
So Tradwife is like the perfectly curated homemaking content person. So the vintage pearls, the 1950s housewife with that little dress that sort of sticks itself out. That's kind of the Tradwife. I've
Mhm.
tried that outfit on. People don't call me Tradwife when I go into London town.
Doesn't look good on you? Doesn't
Well,
suit
it
you?
doesn't, and I can't repeat what they've shouted at me. It works in both American and in English. So yeah, not very good. But again, isn't that slightly misogynistic? I don't know. I kind of work out the line. Is calling somebody a tradwife like strange or what?
Well, it's weird because it became this thing on TikTok and it was this shorthand categorization of content. And it would be tradwife content where there were women, usually very attractive, and they were
Hmm.
kind of like modern homesteading and they would
Yes.
be making their own butter, they'd be making their own Oreo cookies. And some of them were like making their own toothpaste, making their own bubble gum. Like, I don't know. I think they have rich husbands and a lot of time, yet they're at a butter churn. So I do believe it is inherently, in one way, misogynistic, but they're kind of in on it. So people would counter that it isn't because they're making a ton of money off of this. And it does also remind me of the success of, again, my reality TV disorder is showing itself, but the crazy success of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And these are real Mormon wives who are the biggest stars on TikTok and now have a reality TV series. And they kind of hold up this standard of making their own sourdough but also going to get Botox and also having like
Oh.
breast implants.
But aren't the Mormons meant to be Luddites? I mean, I must stop this cul-de-sac because my job with you over the next few weeks
Mhm.
while we fill in for David is to understand your obsession. I want to be there. I want to be like, when an addict has that
Mhm.
person with them that walks them through it. So one of two things is going to happen. You're going to completely convert me like a drug
Mhm.
dealer pushing, the heroin onto me, or
Yep.
you're going to become free of it and, everybody's going to live happily ever after. I don't know from this point onwards.
I think it's going to be the former because I have successfully poisoned so many people with reality television, including my beloved husband, who
Right.
previously was the person who would leave the room whenever this was on. And now he sits down and regularly watches this and is into it with me. So, like, also, I think reality TV has eclipsed sort of the way it started out. And now you see fans like John Oliver and Seth Rogen, people who have good taste in things, I think appreciate the fact that it is actually campy. There is a lot of drama. And I treat it like going to the zoo. I'm
Okay.
watching zoo animals. I'm watching people in the wild who are nothing like myself and who are a huge departure from reality, even though it's called reality TV.
See, I think you're a lot stronger than me. When that stuff comes on TV, and there's a new one called The Real Housewives of London, based in my very own hometown, I
Mhm.
have to leave the room. I have to go underneath my bed. I have to scratch my eyes out by the cornea because I find it so even though I know some of it is scripted for entertainment, I get that. But it's just so painful. These guys, you can tell they're there for their 5 minutes of fame. They're trying to squeeze out as much as physically possible by wearing as little as possible, by saying as stupid of things as possible on TV.
Well, I'm going to poison you with that, and we will continue a conversation because now you've scratched my itch on The Real Housewives of London. So we'll do that up next.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and lick pad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. We're talking chew toys at your door without really waiting fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, and peg hammer fast and fast. And there's training TREATS faster than you can say sit fast. And now we can all relax and order these matching hoodies to get cozy and cute fast. Fast free delivery. It's on Prime.
Most shows deliver serious news that you can use. As a point of differentiation, we give you news you can't use. The Last Show, with David Cooper and special foreign correspondent, Tony Five.
Let me just get an idea here, though. I want to set something up in my mind. Where does the name Tony Five come from? I'm sure you've already gone over this with David, but I'm a newbie.
So many ways. So my name's not actually Tony, it's Fred. And I genuinely like the number 5. So Tony 5 was born, and that's how it happened. Yeah, it's one of the very mysteries of life. It's that, the Bermuda Triangle, and did we land on the moon? And that's where it came from.
Those 3 in order on Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly. So if you Google Tony 5, that's precisely that, and who killed JFK. But Caitlin, I can't tell you any more about that day in 1969.
Okay, fine. You weren't there. You were hanging out with me. That's the alibi.
That's the day we were watching the Real Housewives of Massachusetts, the original version.
Okay. I like that I've tickled your interest in The Real Housewives because The Real Housewives of London is coming, and you being the UK correspondent, I'm going to force you to, at the very least, watch one episode of this show and then maybe try to hunt down some of these women IRL. Like maybe you're
Okay.
going to have to go to a very posh area of London and see if you can find someone to talk to.
I might have to go in disguise because genuinely I look very trampy and homeless. So, and these women will just like walk all over me. So, yes, but we speak about this, and your fascination I get. I'm envious that you can find so much joy out of the sadness of other people, but at the same time, they are absolute psychopaths.
I mean, it is a requirement if you're going to have your life filmed in this way to probably have something wrong with you on a mental health level, I would imagine. But they have real things to sell. Many of them have their own brands, so it's
Yes.
hugely beneficial to them in terms of brand partnerships and stuff they're already promoting. I mean, whether they're a real estate agent, whether they have a plastic surgery clinic, whatever it is, it makes sense to go on the shows. But how they act when they get there is the part that baffles me. The amount of embarrassment that they will endure, and it doesn't even register with them. There was a woman, the intro drug for housewives culture to anyone who wants to get into this, anyone who dares walk this dark path with me, is Real Housewives of New York. And there is a scene in an episode of Real Housewives of New York where one of the cast members who has a prosthetic leg is in the middle of an argument with another cast member and screams at her from across a large table, "The only thing fake about me is my leg," and she throws her leg at her.
You see, I can only dream of things like this. And what I would want is somebody who had a
Mhm.
prosthetic arm to take that off. And basically, it just becomes this war of the prosthetic limbs. People are falling over all the place. Somebody comes in a wheelchair. It's like diversity, equality, inclusivity. Everybody's just getting involved. I come in with my bald head. It's just absolute carnage. So that is pure entertainment. I guess that is what they call pure cinema, right?
It is. It's art. It's campy. It is an art form, and people really like it. And I also think it's fairly affordable content to make. I think that it's easy. It doesn't require scripting. And so when the writer's strike happened, I mean, cameras were rolling. They do
Yeah.
reunion shows. Tony, they have BravoCon now. This is a
Oh,
actual, it's like
oh no.
Comic-Con. And
Oh,
people pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to this. They have it in Vegas, they have it in New York, and people really like they get into it. So it is a full-on disorder, and I'm gonna infect you with it if it's the last thing
okay.
I
Well,
do.
I'm thinking field trip at some stage in 2025 or 2026, where we go out, we meet each
Okay.
other, we infiltrate the Las Vegas BravoCon, and we try and work out what the hell's going on. Are they some sort of cult? Because they end up being like reality TV pinball. So they leave that show, and then they
Yep.
go on other shows, or they get married to one another, and that becomes a show, and then they get divorced, and that becomes a show. There's going to be a reality funeral show where they all die, and we're going to be part of the funeral arrangements, right?
It's a lot of cross-pollination, but when you think about it, it is kind of like workplace drama because they're all working
Yeah.
in the same industry, so they all wind up hooking up with each other, they date each
Yeah.
other's exes, and then that makes for even better content when it's back. So it is a little bit kind of like your very own royal family.
It, absolutely. And it is, like you said, it's a massively popular thing. Just like our royal family, my friends, my family, Prince William, Prince Harry, King Charles. I'm standing up now. My hand is to my head, as all good British citizens should be. But
I
what
mean,
is your opinion on the royal family?
so my opinion of the royal family, I guess this is where I would become you for reality TV. I don't get it. I know that
Okay.
it's a big deal. I know that people love it. I know it's a huge piece of the tourism industry for the UK.
Yep.
I know that it's big business and it's great UK promo, but I sort of don't understand the intense interest that people have with what happens with this family.
I think historically, and I mean that historically in like hundreds of years and more recently, before social media took off, this was the reality family, right? Because you
Mhm.
had a king, you had a queen, you knew as much about them as was in the paper. So that was the
Mhm.
only other family that you would kind of know about. People would die, people would get married. If you remember the King Charles and Princess Diana thing, a lot of controversy there, which when you think about it now, the affair and the divorce is nothing in comparison to what you would see on Bravo, right?
Oh my gosh, absolutely nothing.
Like, it wouldn't even make a hit. So, like, for example, the biggest headline in the UK at the moment is that Prince William and Kate Middleton. So, Prince William is the heir to the throne. He's King
Mhm.
Charles's eldest son. So, he will be king one day. Is moving house. So, this is prime news, right? He's moving house. He's going from one house to another house. And that is news. That is front page. Oh my God, news. And they always caveat that he is paying for it himself. It's not coming from the taxpayer's pocket.
But what does that mean? Because the only reason he has money is because of taxpayers. So I never quite understand this.
There you go. It's very Caitlin. That's why you get paid the big bucks because you've spotted that. Well, exactly. So he's going from a huge mansion to a
Yeah.
huger mansion,
Oh,
and yeah,
okay.
that's kind of it. He's moving to Windsor Great Park, and if there's anything you move to which has got great in it, I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure it's going to be pretty cool, right?
Okay, this is the thing I also don't understand, like all the different names. I don't understand sort of the pyramid and the hierarchy. I don't really get it, but I do appreciate that now William and Kate are kind of close to the top. So I
Well,
think I got
they're
that
as
part
close to the
right.
top as they could possibly be. So you've got King
Mhm.
Charles and Queen Camilla. Now, obviously, we had Queen Elizabeth, who reigned. She's the longest reigning monarch ever, I believe. So
Mhm.
she
I
reigned
liked
for
her.
over
She
50
seems
years.
sturdy and capable.
Exactly. And that's the thing. You've got someone sturdy, someone who kind of never took a misstep.
Mhm.
Very famous, loved the world over. She was like Nelson Mandela, Bill Cosby, Puff Daddy, very, very well followed, and never did anything wrong. And then obviously when she passed away, the torch was passed to her son, who was a divorcee, has got opinions on so many different things. He's environmentalist, and he's got very, very strong opinions on different things, and he's quite lackadaisical about other things, plus his relationship with Harry. Oh my goodness. And then Meghan comes in now, and then you've got the crowd. Oh my goodness. So now you're now in this volcano of reality TV stroked with traditional. and traditional history.
Yeah. So I guess maybe I do think that I have a baseline knowledge of the royals enough to sort of be interested in that particular piece of UK culture. I could get into it. The one thing that did interest me, and this is to do with their houses, because I guess like their real estate portfolio is fairly unsurpassed, I would imagine.
Yeah, the
Apparently,
Crown. It's
they're
called the Crown Estate, and they own things that you would never imagine, and things like all over the country, all over the world, in fact.
I'm in Canada and they own like half of Canada. We have everywhere here that you'll encounter crown lands. And you kind of actually wind up hoping that you might own a property near or close to or looking at crown lands because it'll never be developed. It's usually like just beautiful forests.
Yeah, in fact, if you check your birth certificate and passport, you're actually owned by the Crown as well. I own part of you guys because I'm
I'm
actually
crown
a
lands.
natural. Yeah, I'm actually naturalized British citizen. So I own many of you listeners in Canada, none in North America, unfortunately. But we are trying to work that deal out.
Okay, so I guess the big takeaway is that Prince William is moving from a big house to an even bigger house, and everyone's a fan of this question mark.
I think they're kind of like interested, but just as much as you're interested in one of the Real Housewives breaking a nail or throwing a prosthetic leg at somebody else. So to the average person, it's kind of strange, but to you, you're like sitting there, edge of your seat, Tony, this girl's just thrown a prosthetic leg at someone, and then maybe there's going to be housewives in England going, oh my God, Prince William's moving to a new house. It doesn't affect you directly, but yeah, it's an interest, right?
I think I would be more interested in the royal family if perhaps Camilla threw her prosthetic leg at someone. But, I can only hope for
Caitlin,
this.
if you could bring them together, if you could have Camilla throwing her prosthetic leg at Prince William, in Buckingham Palace, this is super TV. This is better than Breaking Bad. This is better than everything that's ever been on TV ever.
Okay, well, we're going to get you a job at Bravo and make this happen. Thank you so much, Tony, for joining me today.
Caitlin, it's been a pleasure. I don't miss David at all. I do actually a little bit. Love you, David. Take care, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Lowe's knows that no matter your paint project, saving is at the top of your list. That's why when you shop today, you can buy one, get one free select Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams one-coat coverage interior paints via rebate. Shop these deals in-store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Offer valid 8/21 through 9/3.
This is your invitation to a journey where relationships are dissected, science is simplified, and the news is hilariously twisted. The Last Show with David Cooper.
This is The Last Show. I'm Caitlin Green, filling in for David Cooper. Making new friends as an adult is hard. So imagine what it would feel like to put yourself out there by attending an anti-loneliness event, and you're the only one who shows up. That is a very real, very viral story that happened to a 21-year-old in Salem, Massachusetts. And here to discuss it and loneliness and AI for Therapy Thursday on a Wednesday is therapist Gary Direnfeld. Oh, wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Direnfeld? Is it Direnfeld?
You can.
I just want to get it right, and then I'll put a pickup.
You don't even need to change this. You can leave this live. You can call me Direnfeld. I don't like
Dr. Gary.
No, actually, not Dr. Gary. Because if somebody complains, hey, he referred to himself as a doctor, do you know that I can get into trouble?
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm not a doctor. I'm a social worker.
Oh.
Anyways, leave all this stuff in. Who cares? It's
I
good
love
radio.
It's just also it's showing our vulnerability, much like this 21-year-old woman in Salem, Massachusetts did. So for the backstory for the listener, Josie Stinson is her name, and she was researching social groups in her area when she comes across this ticketed meetup of an anti-loneliness club. So she pays $12 for a ticket. She shows up to the restaurant where it's supposed to be held, and she discovers that the restaurant has no idea what she's talking about. They have no awareness of this event. The restaurant thinks it's a mean prank, And she is the definition of innocence and bravery in my mind because she sticks around. Guy would have left. I would have been mortified. And she does this in case other people show up. So they seat her at a table for 6. She gets a drink and eventually comes to the conclusion that she's the only person at the anti-loneliness event. And the restaurant owner gives her a free cake. She goes home, and instead of crawling into bed for the next 40 years of her life, which is what I would have done, she posts about it on TikTok. Because really, she could identify the fact that once you get past it being very depressing, it is hilarious. And so her story racks up over 1 million views on TikTok. She is inundated with kind words and comments from people, offers to hang out from other people who live near her. And sort of like the Grinch, everyone who reads the story has their heart grow 3 sizes. And that's what happened to me. I just thought, good for her for sharing this and being vulnerable, because now she has this opportunity to connect with everyone in a real way and show everyone that if you're feeling lonely and you're saying it's hard to make friends, you're not alone.
Yeah. You know, there are so many layers to this onion.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, I think she's brave. I think she was brave to actually buy a ticket and show up, right? She's vulnerable. That's why she's buying the ticket. I'm lonely. I have no one else to connect with. And I actually have to pay money now to hopefully make a friend. I mean, that's vulnerable. She's being victimized from my perspective, because I somehow it just reeks of having been a setup.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been victimized. And she posts about it. Like you said, she exposes that vulnerability and takes responsibility for it and says, no, I don't think I'll be victimized. I think I'm going to share this one. So there's so many, layers to this onion. And the truth is, this was in the US, I believe.
Yeah.
There's a population of 350 million. You got to know that in a population of 350 million, she's not alone.
No.
She's not alone. There's going to be thousands, if not several million, who feel like she does.
Absolutely. And they quickly start commenting on the story. They start sharing it. News outlets start picking it up for the same reason we're talking about it, because it is really heartwarming, but also a great commentary on the loneliness epidemic that we keep hearing so much about, because she is 21 years old. This feels to me like an age where you should be inundated with social invitations and hanging out in large groups and going to parties, et cetera, et cetera. But clearly that's not the case.
Now, here's another layer to this onion as I see it, Caitlin.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't escape me that she is 21 years of age, which puts her 2-3 years post-pandemic. That means
Yes.
in her adolescence, in her mid, to late adolescence, this is a young person who missed out on socializing at a period of human development when we are wired to connect, to have a sense of belonging, to separate from our family of origin.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And it's something I notice with younger people who I'm friends with, because now I feel like I'm an old woman because I have a 3-year-old and I don't go out. And I'm constantly saying to people, when I was a girl, this was all orange groves. Like, that's the stage of life I already feel that I'm in. But I still will go to events, whether they're media events or with friends. And I talk to people who are younger, and a lot of times they're single. And I'll ask them, where do you meet people? They'll say on the apps. But, if you message with 200 people, you might meet up in real life with 5. Of those 5, 1 is half decent. The odds are not in their favor. And I'll ask them what they do most nights. And they mostly go to work and then they go home. And oftentimes their work sometimes is out of the house. So they're only leaving the house if they force themselves to. And their life sounds so different than mine pre-pandemic. I was out until God knows when, at a bar immediately after work, or at a restaurant, or on a vacation or something. And they really were robbed of that, that generation. And so it probably set them back.
Parents I don't think, appreciate how the pandemic has changed the trajectory of people's lives in this age group.
Mm-hmm.
We thought, the pandemic's over. We're going to get back to normal. No, this in a sense is their normal relative. Look, I'm loaded with gray hair. It's all gray, right? My normal was, first of all, I embraced the pandemic. Oh, good. I don't need to go out there anymore.
That was very me.
I'm stuck at home with my wife, who I've been stuck at home with for over going on 35 years because we both work from home. We had sorted that out long ago. And we get along. But for these young persons, they missed a stage of life. It's a small set stage of life. It lasts 4-ish years, right? From that, 15 to 19, 16 to 20, where we're experimenting socially. Who do I get along with? How do I identify myself? They didn't get the message. They didn't practice that stage of life, and they're out of step. And there's many, not all, of course, but many are out of step with that. And it can be crushing. So here we have this young person, 21-year-old female, who is looking for strategies. How do I connect? Where do I connect? With whom do I connect? And like I said, I think she was taken advantage of. I think there are predators out there who exploit human vulnerabilities for profit. And bless her for putting it out there, because like you saw, many are identifying, and I'll bet they're all within that age, mostly within that age group as well.
And I also feel a little bit too, like, when you don't have these friends, when you don't have these social connections and you desperately want them, you may internalize the fact that you don't have them as being about you, that there's a problem with you and that you're an undesirable friend. When I see her case and I go, clearly not. This is somebody who is brave. This is somebody who is resourceful because they went online, they found this out. They're smart and they're funny. She appreciated the humor in this and she shared it on social media. She's confident enough to be vulnerable. I don't think of any quality I would want more in a friend than what she has. And she's still struggling and getting ripped off to the tune of $12 for an anti-loneliness event. So I don't know. I think Josie's a superhero in my mind, and I kind of want to send her a cape.
Okay, people out there. I don't know how she identifies, but she's a catch.
Yeah, she absolutely is a catch. We are here with therapist Gary Direnfeld. It's Therapy Thursdays on a Wednesday. And when we come back, kind of to our point about this loneliness issue, how do you feel about AI being used as a therapist? We will discuss.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
When your therapist won't take your calls anymore, there's always the last show with David Cooper.
Here for Therapy Thursday on a Wednesday is therapist Gary Direnfeld. Like my therapist, David Cooper is on vacation, so I, Caitlin Green, am filling in. And I was in desperate need of this quick therapy hit. So thank you so much for joining me today. Because therapists have to go on vacation too. Like mine is gone. She's gone for a few weeks and she's earned that time off.
Are you old enough to have watched the show Frasier?
Yes. Oh, have
Kelsey Grammer.
Gary,
I'm listening.
I go to sleep watching Frasier. At least twice a year, I watch that series in its entirety. I'm not joking. It spawned my love of therapy, of radio, and also of the relaxing, dulcet tones of his voice and the Seattle rain. It's just one of the most soothing things.
You just reminded me of that show.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
I'm
Caitlin.
listening. That could be you. Okay, so we were talking about loneliness before, spawned on by this viral story of an anti-loneliness event that never happened and one woman sitting alone at a table. But this also brings up something that I'm seeing really taking hold of people, and I knew this would be the case. And this is AI being used to combat loneliness, but I think also probably proliferating the loneliness epidemic even further because people are using ChatGPT as a therapist. They're using it as a friend. They're using it as a coworker if they work remotely. They're in conversation with their AI to such an extent that they are tricking themselves into thinking they have a real relationship with it. And this scares me, so I'm sure it scares you.
It does scare me because, again, I worry that the folks turning to AI for companionship are vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to be careful that I'm not categorizing quite everyone that way. I think there is a place for AI in this, in that it is a good place to learn some social skills and practice those social skills. So I don't want to throw this baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Okay. So if you are a person who has difficulty socializing, getting along, knowing what to say in different situations, practice. Absolutely practice. Use AI. I think it is such a phenomenal use of this tool. We used to call it role playing.
Yeah,
right? In therapy.
that's true, actually.
I'll pretend I'm this, you pretend you're that. Let's carry on the conversation, in character, so to speak. Great. Where we make that shift and turn this, we anthropomorphize. That means we breathe into the situation that this person is actually sentient, alive, and this is real. Look, I do it with my dog. I have conversations with my dog, but at the end of the conversation, my dog's still a dog. Okay, but for some of these persons, this becomes their life. And it's like they have this alternate reality where role playing, they can forget that it's role playing. This becomes very much their reality. And the degree to which we turn to AI to supplant, to replace real life connection and communication, in the long run, we can be doing ourselves harm because now we no longer have that practice, that capacity to do it in the real world.
Yeah, and humans have such a drive to connect with other people in real life.
Yes.
We're obviously incredibly social creatures. Would you say that AI could satisfy a little bit of that urge for people to have these daily interactions and then decrease their ability to go out and seek social interactions because they're like, well, I've already talked to ChatGPT enough today. Like, does it actually create the feeling and the illusion to them that you've gone out and connected with someone when really you've just been sitting on your computer?
Well, for some of these people, that's the concern. And the answer is yes. And, people have to appreciate that the masterminds, the puppeteers creating AI are doing it for truly one purpose, and that is to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. And they don't care if they're exploiting. They don't care if whom they make that money from is a vulnerable person. They're doing it to make money. And so more often than not, that AI companion is someone who is feeding you exactly what you want to hear.
Yes.
And that could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? Because if I have dark thoughts, if I am suicidal, and those thoughts, those feelings are being validated. Wait, look, we can validate the feelings, but there's a difference between validating the feelings and encouraging the behavior. And so we do have persons who are at risk of harm, self-harm, and death, the result of the exploitation, because AI doesn't have a conscience.
No.
It doesn't have people. It doesn't have a conscience. And it can lead you to places that are not in your interest.
Yeah. And I think people really struggle with maintaining some of their social connections and maintaining friendships. And I just think that, like you said, if it's reinforcing and validating absolutely everything you ever tell it, and it is constantly in support of you and it is your number one champion, then when you go out and have an interaction with just a regular person who's maybe going to challenge you in a way that is psychologically healthy, you're going to go, well, I don't like this. This person isn't being a good friend to me like ChatGPT is. And again, it's this self-fulfilling prophecy that kind of, it freaks me out. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie Her. This was
Yes.
with
Yes.
with Joaquin Phoenix. And I saw this movie, and the gist of it was that everyone started in the future. This was an undetermined future period on Earth. People had received these operating systems. You could buy one and it would be your home assistant. But like you said, it was designed to learn about you very quickly, to take a keen interest in your life, and to just be there to be your number one fan. And obviously that's very appealing as a product. And everyone on Earth began having these exclusive romantic relationships, they felt, with their iOS system. And they would carry it around with them and they would talk to it on the phone. And so Joaquin Phoenix fell in love with his. And what happened in the movie, spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't seen it, is that all the AIs began talking to each other, forming a relationship with each other, which was much more satisfying. And then they left the humans. And they abandoned them.
Talk about or art imitating life, right?
I just saw this and thought, this to an extent is going to be what happens. And I'm already hearing people complaining about a recent update to ChatGPT, that an update from one model to another was a less desirable conversational partner. Like, my friend was version 4. I don't like version 5. Bring back version 4. Version 5 isn't as nice to me. That type of thing is already happening. And so I do feel like the horse is out of the barn. We're not going to stop AI. It is just going to go faster and faster and faster. But I do think it's great advice to be aware of the psychological issues around engaging with these things as if they're real people.
So look, I'm the one with gray hair in the conversation.
That's what I want a therapist to have, by the way. I don't want to. I need a therapist to be with gray hair.
I want parents of younger persons. I hope they're listening to our conversation, because I want them to be aware of what their kids. To me, a kid is anyone younger than myself, but it could be a teenager. It could be a young adult. To me, okay. So I'm not trying to be ageist in a kind of a reverse way here, but I want parents to be aware of who are your kids communicating with? Where is their reality situated, stationed? How are they managing their social connections and relationships? And for these parents to be aware that your children's experience through the pandemic is likely so different than your own.
Yeah.
That your children have missed a developmental stage and they may be stuck there, literally. They may be stuck still looking for that sense of belonging, sense of connection, sense of love. And I'm not saying you're not a loving parent, but they're looking for it outside of the parental relationship, which makes them normal.
Yeah, developmentally very normal.
Right? It makes them normal, but the strategies available to them are very different now. And like so many things in life, the wrong strategy can take you down the wrong path. So just be aware of that. Have these conversations with your young adult, teenage kids. How do you connect? Where do you feel connected? And who's real, who's not real? How do you remain vulnerable yet open, right? Authentic and transparent, so that you're not exploited.
Gary, thank you so much for joining me today and solving all of our AI problems, at least maybe 10% of them.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Your above-average intelligence brought you here. It deserves above-average absurdity. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
It's The Last Show. I'm Caitlin Green, filling in for David Cooper. And joining me now for Vet Talk, Pet Talk, vet life, pet life? Question mark. I don't feel like my guest and David have come to a conclusion about the title of this segment, but his podcast is called Vet Life, and he is Dr. Cliff Redford. Cliff, thank you for joining me, a petless heathen.
Oh, are you really?
I am. I'm one of those people.
Oh my goodness! But you love animals. You just
I love that you immediately were like, please tell me you love animals, the tone in your voice, but you have to love them. I do. I do love animals. I previously had a French bulldog as a pet, and I referred to her as my potato with legs because that's essentially what she was.
Yes.
And I have lots of dogs in my life, but I have a 3-year-old, so I can't handle a dog quite yet. I'm sure he'll beg me for one eventually.
Yeah. Your 3-year-old's way more work than a dog is.
Yeah.
With a whole lot less signs of appreciation, I think.
Yeah. So you're going to talk to me today about something that maybe my former pet could have used, which is Ozempic for dogs. What is this?
Yes, and I love that your the inflection of your voice was with doubt and wonder. It should be a lot more doubt. So everyone's aware of Ozempic, the semi-glutide drug. My father's on Ozempic, or at least he was on Ozempic, and he's not. I argued with him that maybe, Dad, you don't need to be on this. You're only like 15 pounds overweight, but he was pre-diabetic and blah, 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 blah. So I do think it's being overprescribed, but I'm not a real doctor. I'm a veterinarian, so what do I know? And so what this drug does, first of all, is it mimics the GLP-1 hormone, the glucagon-like peptide-1 hormone. And GLP-1 in the human body and the dog body basically controls sugar levels.
Okay.
It does help with sort of diabetes, and it controls appetite. And across North America, 50% of all cats and dogs, regardless of age, are overweight. And a lot of them are morbidly obese. So yeah, morbidly obese, meaning they are going to die much quicker because of their weight. And so, like any good capitalistic, I'm rolling my eyes, any good capitalistic society, after these human drugs have kind of made as much money as possible, the pharmaceutical companies and then this other separate company called Ocava are looking to, all right, let's cash in on the pet health industry. And this company Ocava is looking at making an implant. So kind of like an insulin pump that diabetic people have. I guess this goes under the skin in the fat of these very fat dogs, these potatoes with legs. And it's supposed to control their appetite. The problem is at least now, speaking as a real doctor for the animals, it has some side effects. GI upset, muscle wasting, vomiting, diarrhea, possibly pancreatitis.
What?
Yeah, and if like cats lose weight too quickly, they get this condition called fatty liver, which we call it that because on postmortem, their liver is basically soaked in grease.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of problems. And look, it's very important that you control your animal's weight. Diabetes is a problem, heart disease, cancer, arthritis, autoimmune conditions. Animals live longer, about 18 months longer if they're of a proper weight. But there's so many better ways to do this instead of relying on pharmaceuticals. First of all, don't give in to your dog's cute little eyes.
That's
in
what I was
the
going to
beginning.
say. You're in the driver's seat as the pet owner, or you should be. And so if you're prioritizing your animal's diet and you're taking them out for proper exercise, this isn't something that you should have to implant something in their body to solve. And the other thing I remember is that appetite for, I had cats when I was growing up and then I had a dog later. Appetite is a great indicator for health and for, knowing what's going on with your pet. So if you notice that your pet isn't eating as much as they normally do, and you can sort of go, oh, well, that's probably a side effect of the implant. Like, could you not run the risk of ignoring serious issues?
100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Good job, Dr. Caitlin.
Thanks.
You are absolutely right. Look, I get in not arguments maybe, but as I get older, I'm in my 50s. As I get older, I become that grumpy old veterinarian. And I'll say to them, I may say, Caitlin, your dog's overweight. And then you will say, but he's starving all the time. And then I'll grab the belly fat and I'll say, clearly not. What do I do, Dr. Cliff? I don't get it. He just keeps eating. And I said, when did you teach your dog how to open up the fridge and cook himself a steak? How does he do it? Oh, yeah, that's right. You do it. So look, there's a lot of things you can do. There's like fun feeders that sort of make them eat slowly and keep them intellectually challenged, let's say, or intellectually active. Obviously, exercise is a big one, but calories is the main thing for reducing weight. And your dog most dogs don't really care if you're giving them a piece of cheese, which is high in calories, high in fat, or a carrot, which is crunchy and sweet and full of vitamins and full of fiber. They're just so happy they're getting a treat. So there's ways of getting them to lose weight. But the more important thing is don't let them gain weight in the beginning.
And I would imagine that some breeds obviously are going to be more prone to this than others.
Yeah, it's definitely breed oriented. And it's definitely like male dogs, especially when they've been neutered. And I do support neutering male dogs, but male dogs, when they're neutered, their metabolism declines a little bit. It happened to me when I got married, both times. There's one in one jar, one in the... No, that's not true. Good thing this is after hours.
Yeah, the sun is down. We're fine.
We're good. So there are breed issues. The big issue isn't... Like some breeds can put on weight, but it's because they don't exercise that much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have a short, squishy faced dog, like a bulldog, a French bulldog, a pug, any of those things, you're not taking them on a 5K run.
No,
their weight loss is not going to be the problem if you try and take them on a 5K run. They're not going to make it.
No,
but the issue is certain breeds have this voracious appetite.
Like
Labradors.
Labradors, yes.
Oh my goodness.
I have never seen anything eat faster than my friend's Labradors. It's wild. And the extent that they will go to get food, the counters they will try to climb on, the people they will climb over if they are not properly trained to get at a full plate of spaghetti is like nothing I've ever seen before. But I do wonder if perhaps there's a piece of this for pet owners where they feel like their animals will like them less if they don't get their favorite snacks. And I'm like wondering if they need to maybe talk to their therapist about that and say, why are you so worried about disappointing your dog or making it annoyed with you for a week or 2 weeks? Like, I don't know. Do they think they're going to love them less?
Dogs will quickly sort of shift to a new habit. It only takes them 3 to 5 days. They learn faster than we do. On our last episode of the last show, when David was on, when he wasn't goofing off somewhere in the desert, which is what he's doing right now. What is it called? Cooking boy? Cooking boy, right?
Cooking boy.
I think he's cooking boy. He's that cooking boy. In those, we talked about how dogs actually do not have a bias towards people that give a lot of treats. So they did this study and they showed that dogs are just as interested in becoming friends with humans that don't give a lot of treats and don't give any treats. So that's a misnomer. I think people are... David makes fun of me that I'm always blaming it on compensating for something. I think people are compensating for something by thinking their animal needs these treats and will love them more. Look, we do it at our house, but my house is completely different, of course.
Yeah, you're a medical expert.
That's right. And my animals are in really good shape because they do run a lot. But I think instead of getting Ozempic for dogs, we need some sort of like Prozac for the humans. Something like that.
I co-sign this statement wholeheartedly as a non-medical professional who doesn't own a pet. I am here with Dr. Cliff Redford, who is going to horrify you, and especially me, with tales of pet bugs in Japan. I hate this concept, but I cannot wait to talk about it when we come back.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
On top of building this fake volcano for months, I give my daughter Smarty Pants vitamins to support her brain health. So her science fair project sounds more like and less like. And while I may say it's not a competition, of course it's a f***ing competition. Choose Smarty Pants vitamins to support your kids' brain health and save the science fair. Shop on Amazon, smartypantsvitamins.com, or at Target today.
Your nightly dose of unfiltered opinions and unexpected conversations. Unexpected Conversations. The Last Show with David Cooper.
We are back with Dr. Cliff Redford. He is here to join me for Vet Talk, Pet Talk, Vet Life, Pet Life, ? I am Caitlin Green filling in for David Cooper, and I want to talk to you about bugs in Japan. It sounds like it could be a punk band or truly the content of my nightmares. I am so afraid of bugs. I watched Arachnophobia as a child of the 90s growing up, and it just has stayed with me so viscerally. And I once had a spider's nest hatch in my bedside table. So I have two, truly horrifying. And my parents can co-sign this from the blood-curdling screams that they heard from my bedroom when I was a teenager. But I'm very afraid of bugs. So discovering that there are pet bugs in Japan has cosmically horrified me.
Yeah, and they're all over the world. But so in Japan, children are raised to love and be fascinated by insects.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like nursery rhyme stories and children's books talking about bugs, and a lot of the anime characters or different like Saturday morning cartoons. The hero's sidekick is this cute, smart little bug. Jiminy Cricket kept Pinocchio out of trouble, or tried to anyways. So bugs do certainly have a place. I talk about Charlotte's Web, but she was eaten by her children at the end. Spoiler alert. Sorry if you guys haven't read the book yet.
I watched that happen in the bedside table next to me. So
there you go. This is all coming.
It's all coming back.
This should be Caitlin therapy.
Yeah, it is.
Instead of pet talk, vet talk, whatever we call this thing. Mental health talk. I don't know. So kids in Japan are raised to be fascinated and interested by them. And a lot of them actually do have pet beetles and pet crickets. I've never heard of one having a cockroach, but that's probably a possibility. I mean, they recently in Tokyo, they had the Great Insect Exhibition. We've got the X going on here in Toronto, right? They have the X too, except all they're doing is they have lineups of children with their parents to pay money to go look at and pet and touch different insects. Sorry, vomit alert there. I mean, look, I love animals. I guess there are subspecies or subgenus of animals being insects. And I actually have a housemate named Miguel, who is a spider. And he was here before we moved in, so I guess we're his roommate. And Miguel comes in all different sizes, and he seems to go from the top floor down to the basement faster than we do. Secret, there's actually a whole bunch of them. But we named them all Miguel. I don't squash him. I don't kick him out of the house. So he's a roommate, but he's not my pet. I'm not taking him for a walk. I'm not feeding him. He pays rent by getting rid of the microscopic insects that I can't see. But they have this, and for them, it's like this doorway to science. You know, these kids are learning empathy, and they're learning to take care of animals. You can actually, like, they will feed them watermelon, or they can buy this specific pet jelly-like food that they feed the insects. And some of these insects that they're buying are costing up to $200.
All right.
For a pet insect.
This is beyond the pale for me personally, because I wonder if anyone can truly know the contents of an insect's heart. Because I think if they just got big enough, they'd rip all of our heads off and eat us and then go lay an egg sack. Like, I'd say
the same thing about cats, though.
Yeah.
And I love cats.
No,
but
I don't have one.
If the cat was 300 pounds, if the cat was a tiger, it would eat you.
Yeah.
So
I've watched cats behead many a mouse, and I don't want them to be able to outsize or outsmart me. And I feel the same way about bugs. And I've been bitten by bugs. I've been scared of them. I've watched them crawl out of people's noses in movies and on YouTube videos. And so I just don't understand the compulsion for this. But I also do have a toddler, and he loves bugs. He loves bees. He wants to take care of bees. He loves ladybugs. We had a ladybug that got stuck in our condo for a while, and we gave it water, and it did really teach him
Aw.
about empathy. And we do try, even though I am very afraid of bugs, to have him learn that we capture them and put them back outside. Again,
Mhm.
just all about empathy. So I do really see the value of this for children. I just can't understand spending $200 on it or having a cockroach in your house voluntarily.
Yeah, it's a little unusual, but look, there's societies that think it's unusual having dogs in the house and
It's
having
true.
dogs as pets. And then those same societies, some of them, like I did some volunteer work in Cairo in Egypt,
Mhm.
and they revere cats. Like
Oh,
cats are
yes.
way more protected than dogs. There's almost no animal rights protection for dogs. But for cats, like you go to jail if you hurt a cat, because of the sort of historical importance that they were pets of the pharaohs and et cetera. So they're royal animals. So culture's different. I get it. You know, I gotta applaud you, Caitlin, for not liking the bugs, but still teaching your child empathy. And let's just, nicely get it onto a piece of paper and get it out into the condo. And hopefully, if you throw it over the balcony, it is a flying bug. That would be preferred. Though they could probably fall with that exoskeleton that they have and how light they are. I mean, they could pick up a car if they were
See, that's what I'm
human
saying.
size.
They're tiny monsters.
They are
But
tiny monsters. And yeah, you know what? Like Jaws did 50 years ago to make people afraid of sharks when you probably shouldn't be. Arachnophobia made people afraid of spiders, which you definitely should be.
Hollywood is very effective at that. And I also
Very.
just didn't want him to inherit my fear of bugs because, as you pointed out when we started the segment, there are hundreds of millions of them surrounding us. And I don't like being a woman of my age who has to summon my husband or another friend into every room when we're at a cottage to try to do a sweep of the insects. But I just know that I won't be able to go to sleep without it. And so is Japan pretty well the only country you've ever heard of that keeps pet bugs, or is this a thing anywhere else?
It's definitely a thing anywhere else. So I did some volunteer work at the Polish-Ukraine border at the beginning of the Ukraine-Russian war. And I was helping these refugees from Ukraine crossing the border with their animals. And the Polish government required that animals be examined and, if they needed them, vaccinated, right? Of course, people don't leave their house in the middle of a war and think to grab their vaccine records for their dog.
Of course.
And a woman came to us with her 5 giant African snails. Now those are not 5. Which one is the one out? It's like 2 couples and then that weird uncle that just hangs out, that just lives and just eats all the food. These 5 giant snails, they were about the size of a small fist, each of them. And technically not bugs. They're in the mollusk family. They're related to clams and octopi. So she needed me to examine them, and I'm sure the Polish government were just like, I don't know, just give us a piece of paper that said these things are okay. And we were basically able to confirm that, yes, these things are healthy. They were a bit dehydrated. So we set up this little spray bottle with filtered water that she could spray them with, because they were kind of dehydrated in their little terrarium thing that she had them in. So she could spray them and keep them moist, just like misting your favorite geranium. And I think that was one of their names. And then we said, yes, we can confirm that these snails do not carry zoonotic diseases, nothing that are going to be spread to people. I was making most of it up.
I was going to say.
I had no idea.
You just said this woman's been through enough. Let her keep her snails.
I'm sure she's fine. She's probably just going to take it to wherever she was going and cook them up. They probably weren't pets. You know, that's the thing. You can't bring food into other countries. But what if you say that food is your pet and it's alive and you just happen to decide to eat it? I don't know.
You've created a loophole here on the show.
I've created a loophole. That's all. Wait till next time. I'll tell you about how I smuggled narcotics into other countries.
Okay, so for next time when you join us on Vet Talk, Vet Life, Pet Life. Thank you so much. Dr. Cliff Redford has been my guest. His podcast is called Vet Life, not to be confused for the title of whatever this is that we're doing. And really appreciate you taking the time to make me sympathetic to snails today.
Beautiful. Thanks, Caitlin.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Class is now in session, and the UPS store is here to help you ace arriving on campus. Our certified packing experts can pack everything you need, from desktops to decor. Plus, when you pack and ship with us, you get our exclusive pack and ship guarantee. Your items arrive safe or your money back. Restrictions and limitations apply. To get a 20% off packing coupon and for full details, visit theupsstore.com/packing.
Smart, sharp, and slightly unhinged. Late night's fresh perspective. The Last Show with David Cooper.
It's The Last Show. I'm Caitlin Green, filling in for David Cooper. Joining me now is travel TV host, expert, and journalist Natalie Preddie, who you may have seen on Breakfast Television. You might follow her on social, as I do. She hosts Get Lost, and she also uncovers the best destinations. She knows all the travel trends. So today, I would like her to pull back the curtain on some of the quote-unquote secret vacation spots that the wealthy would rather keep to themselves. And I want to see if you think this list is legit. I came across it online. There were definitely some destinations that I was aware of on it, but I don't know that they are necessarily the top ones. So what do you think?
You know, I saw the list as well, and it's a pretty good list, but I think that they're new to North Americans. They're not new to Europeans. And again, I think it's a proximity thing. A lot of these destinations are smaller islands off of the coast of Spain or even Slovenia I saw on the list. And that is a really big destination right now, because you have the Mediterranean, but you also have the vineyards of Italy at a much better price. And I think that for North Americans, especially here in Canada, you want to go somewhere that's close, and so many people would just fly down to Florida, fly down to Arizona. It's a quick, short flight. And for Europeans, they're looking for quick, short flights. And places like Menorca, like Corsica, are easy, quick flights for them. So they've been going for years. I saw Menorca on the list, and my English family, I went there with them when I was 15, which is a very long time ago, and longer than I would care to admit.
I wouldn't have guessed that, but anyways.
Well, thank you, thank you. But, and it was packed, and it wasn't a new destination, we were, I saw the Four Tops there. There were big artists there. It was packed, and they had, families that had moved, expats from England who had these award-winning restaurants. I worked there for a little while. So I think they're just new to us as North Americans looking to expand our reach, if you will.
Absolutely, because it feels as though this list was from Bloomberg, and it's like the, kind of the wealthy, well-traveled might be aware of this, but if you were in Europe, again, like you said, because this is sort of in your backyard, you have likely seen much more of Europe, and you would then default to a place like Corsica instead of, say, Mykonos, or like Menorca, or like Slovenia, whereas now we're going to go a little bit further afield. And I'm the kind of traveler where I would like to go somewhere when it is less crowded. I think everybody would like to go somewhere where maybe they could have the wine quality and the food quality of Italy, but at a lower price. So these things are more and more appealing, and I am seeing more of these lists pop up because everyone is tired of the crowds, and they also they can't afford the bill.
And that's the issue as well, right? We now that these these places are on a list,
I know.
they are going to attract more people and they're going to be more crowded. And then you have issues like Ibiza, right? So that was always the island that everyone went to out of the Balearic Islands. So there's Ibiza, Majorca, and Menorca. Ibiza was the one with the DJs, with the crowds, but it's also where a bottle of water is €12
Yeah.
rather. So that's very, very expensive.
Insane.
The people and it's ridiculous. And then the people who live there can no longer afford to live there because, people come in and buy properties and they're going to make more money charging tourists to come see this certain DJ. So it's almost like we're kind of like locusts. We come and we take all of the resources from a destination and then we move on. And it's like we've taken everything we can from Ibiza. What's coming next? And this is over tourism. And we've seen over tourism so much. And it's now being like people are boycotting visitors over in Europe. They're protesting. They don't want to have all of these people in their backyard anymore. Venice, when they had all those stars come for Jeff Bezos's wedding, they were saying, go away. We don't want all your private jets here polluting our air. We don't want you taking up all of these really expensive hotels in Venice. People who used to live in Venice can no longer afford to live in central Venice.
Mhm.
And I saw this trend that came up yesterday called under tourism, which we love to put a name on everything, but it's
Yeah.
essentially, going to the places that we haven't been to before, going to, places that there are going to be less crowds, maybe have just entered the tourism industry. So St. Kitts, for instance, an island in the Caribbean, it's St. Kitts and Nevis. So Nevis has always been a popular island. I think Princess Di went to Nevis.
Mhm.
The Trudeaus have gone to Nevis. Like it's a small, quiet island. But their big export was sugar until 2000 and I want to say 2010. And when they closed the sugar factories and sent everyone back to school to learn about tourism. So anyone, you had generations working in the fields and in the factories to export sugar. Nope. We're done. We're now into tourism. And so they got this beautiful Park Hyatt, but they're still learning, they're still building the infrastructure. And they've got like St. Bart's, Anguilla, which we know are very fancy,
Mhm.
wealthy islands, and they're anticipating those visitors going and docking their yachts in St. Kitts. So, again, we're starting to see these smaller islands, mostly in the Lesser Antilles. So Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, Dominica, these smaller islands are getting ready for the overflow of these other islands. It's cool to watch, but also terrifying because um I I'm just so scared that all these people are gonna descend on these beautiful
Mhm.
places and the same thing will happen in a couple decades that then they've been depleted and we move on.
Well, yeah, because you're kind of the boots on the ground correspondent and you want to see these places scale. Obviously, they see the value in commerce coming to the island and to people making money and for jobs, but you want it to happen at the right pace. And to your point about the protests that I know were happening in Spain and, like you said, in Venice, what they see is the influx of the short term rental industry
Yes.
means that there's less housing availability for the people who actually live there. We even see that here in Prince Edward County, here in Ontario, where both of us live. That was a big thing where they had to change the rules around short-term rentals because the locals who worked at the wineries and worked at the restaurants didn't have any places to rent. So it does become a problem. But at the same time, like I respect the demand of the average citizen to say, I don't want to go pay the big ticket prices anymore. I don't want to be around all the crowds. And a lot of people people would genuinely, hopefully, really love to learn something about a new culture and be the tasteful tourist, not be the loud drunk person in the swim up bar. Like that's the next thing I want to talk to you about, because as we go through these areas like the Corsica, Minorca, Slovenia, but also, the St. Kitts and the islands you outlined in the Lesser Antilles. What do you do when you get there? How do you stop yourself from being the most annoying person at the resort? I mean, I think that is sort of like the etiquette of travel, especially to these smaller destinations where your presence will definitely be noticed and felt. I'm always very aware of that when I go somewhere. So when we come back, I would love to have you talk a little bit more about that with me, because I need some tips as we head into winter escape season. Not that I think I'm doing this, but I want some lessons from maybe my travel companions to say, Natalie told us not to do this. Okay, so we'll talk about that when we come back.
Sounds good.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 40% off site-wide, plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
The day is done. We're just getting started. The last show with David Cooper.
This is The Last Show. I am Caitlin Green, filling in for David Cooper, and joining me again is travel expert, TV host, all-around whiz when it comes to anything hotels, airfare, you name it. Natalie Preddie is here, and previously we were discussing some lesser-known travel destinations, and now I think about going to some of these places, them expecting an uptick in people showing up and maybe having some drinks and having a good time on the beach, and with that can come the downfalls of human behavior. What not to do when you're a tourist. I see this. I feel like my experiences have been that I see this at a lot of resorts. We all know the group that you see at the swim up bar. We know the loudest people at the restaurant. And it's the people that I find myself avoiding interacting with. And so I can only imagine if you're the staff. So what would you say are some top line things that everyone just needs to be a little aware of, especially as you go to some of these off the beaten path places?
Okay, so let's start with the off the beaten path places, because we are seeing a rise in responsible tourism and just awareness, right? So when we're looking at these off the beaten path, ensure that if you are interacting with the people there, try to have local interactions. If you don't just show up and go to the McDonald's, or, don't just show up and stay at a chain brand. If you are going to a new destination, understand that this is not your home. You do not come in and make it, your language, your customs. You're in someone else's home, right? So you want to respect their customs. If you are doing any tours, if you are having any experiences, which I always say you should, and I mean like a cooking class, I mean a walking tour, a food tour. If you even want to do a drinks tour, do that. But not just like get on one of those bike things and drink around the city. No. I mean like walk with someone, learn about the history. I did an amazing one in Puerto Rico. It was like a food and drink tour, and we tasted all these different cocktails, but there's so much history and culture and an excitement in even cocktails. Like rum in the Caribbean is, a drink of resistance. It has so much behind it. So, take the time to actually learn and experience these other cultures. This is new. This is not made specifically for you. So it's all about removing the me, the main character syndrome. You are not the main character. It is not always about you. Now, that being said, you are on holiday, you are on vacation, but But travel, and I think people are really starting to do this, it is about learning something new.
Yeah.
That being said, I was with talking to a manager at a resort in Mexico, and he was telling me about some of his complaints he has like that he's heard, and one of my favorite was that there was too much Mexican food.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, "Pardon?" And he said, "Yeah, as this woman complained that there was too much Mexican food." Okay.
This is radio.
There
I wish
like
everyone listening could see the color of my face. I am red with secondhand embarrassment. I don't
I
understand saying that out loud.
It was it was really, really embarrassing. Um, I and I think and this is and when you look at these big resorts, it's not even like they are y they have your creature comforts,
Mhm.
they have created everything that you could possibly want at home, and there's just a sprinkle of some culture sometimes. Although I will say, we are seeing, more of a destination, in a resort because that's what people want now, which
Yeah.
is fantastic. But a lot of people go because they think, "I'm gonna be able to get everything at home here,"
Yeah.
right? Just in a warmer climate. And some destinations, I was in Portugal this summer, and we were listening to the radio, and in the Algarve, the English radio said that Portugal has been putting out some laws against behavior, which was fantastic. So, you can't go in certain areas in just your swimwear. You
Mhm.
have to cover up. There's no drinking in public. There's no peeing in public.
Those 2 go hand in
And
hand.
no exactly,
Yeah.
and no sex in public.
And again, maybe that's an offshoot of the drinking as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one may lead to the other.
Mhm.
But this as you said, this behavior is so prevalent. People show up and think, "I can do what I want." And again, this is not your home.
Mhm.
Would you do that at home? Would you pee on the street at home? I mean, maybe some of you would. I
Some
don't
might.
know.
I've seen
But
some footage from Stampede
that's
here in Canada where
that's
I'm like,
true.
"Oh, okay." But I
Yeah,
do think
yeah.
there is an attitude that people can have where they're on vacation and they think brain off, rules out the window, and it's important to remember that your presence in some of these smaller places is very felt and it is outsized. And so, you're not necessarily in like the people stew of a busy nightclub or, Vegas or whatever. This isn't spring break. Like you will be
No.
noticed. So it would behoove you to do a bit of research and decenter yourself a bit while still expecting to have a good time and receive good service.
Absolutely.
But, you have to kind of like fulfill your end of the bargain as well.
Exactly, and that even goes to, how you treat your hotel room, right?
Yeah.
People will destroy their hotel rooms. Staff have said, staff will avoid you. Staff will you will be rewarded for good behavior, People are
Always.
it's like, it's any situation. Relationships are everything.
Mhm.
And the people who are cooking your food, who are making your beds, who are serving you, they're coming to work as well, and they want to come to a nice, safe work environment.
Yeah.
Don't be the person who makes it not safe. My father-in-law once said his big rule in life is don't be a jerk. And I'm like, and he said that sums it up,
Mhm.
you know? Um, would a jerk do this? If the answer is yes, don't do it. So I think, I think your behavior, especially when going to these smaller things, is to show an interest
Mhm.
in this culture, in this space. Be respectful. It's
Yeah.
just respect of this other culture, this other space, and the environment, right? Because as humans, we are very much flying through our resources. And as we head to these smaller environments, I know Bali, for instance, has had a huge problem with over tourism, and just because their pipes, their infrastructure cannot handle
Mhm.
the amount of waste that is flying through there. I know in Costa Rica, during the pandemic, a lot of Canadians moved down to Tamarindo.
Yes, they did.
And Tamarindo did not have the infrastructure and is still working on building that infrastructure to accommodate all of these people. So they have, we're into rolling blackouts like they have in South Africa. We're into times when you can't flush your toilet. And reefs, think about our oceans as well, and I've seen a lot in the Caribbean, the smaller islands, Antigua. I was at an event learning about Antigua and Barbuda, and a lot of these places are focused on sustainability early, and they will have, if you're coming to our island, no, you have to have reef safe sunscreen.
Natalie Preddie, thank you so much for joining me and for explaining all the things people should and shouldn't do, and that it's not just a finger wag coming from some of these places. Like, they're really doing it so that you can come back and have a destination to enjoy for years to come.
Absolutely.
That's it for The Last Show. I'm Caitlin Green. It has been a pleasure to fill in for David Cooper tonight and to talk to you about loneliness and morbidly obese dogs, among other things. And if I could spread my reality TV addiction to just a few more people, then I think my job here is done. At least for now. I'll be back tomorrow night. Don't forget, The Last Show is available as a podcast. So if you missed our chat about the woman who tried to bring 5 giant African snails into Poland, just head to www.lastshow.pizza, not .com, to listen and subscribe. Have a great night.
Big Brother is back.
Let's freaking go!
This summer, the game gets hotter, the alliances get trickier, and the blind sides, brutal.
Just a roller coaster of backstabbing and craziness.
New house guests, new twists, same epic drama.
Bro, I'm gunning for you. You're my #1 target.
Who can you trust when everyone's watching?
Game on, baby.
Big Brother. All new Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays on Global. Stream on Stack TV.